America's Corner, where we're unpacking the hypersexualization of Sabrina Carpenter and why she's expected to be more family friendly and how I kind of fell into the trap. Let's go. So first things first, the Short and Sweet tour, right? One of the biggest tours we've had this year, alongside the likes of Beyonce, Taylor Swift, Olivia Rodrigo, now Gaga, all going on tours. Sabrina Carpenter is up there. She's been one of the most talked about, one of the most viewed, and the most in the conversation that you could get at the time. When her tour first started, we're coming off of the high that was Espresso, right? Everybody's seen the music video, everybody's heard the song, everybody's seen the costuming. We kind of got the idea of what the aesthetic for the tour was gonna look like, how it was gonna feel, how it was gonna sound. Obviously, no one ever knows what the tour is gonna look like till the first show, and bam, it happened. She comes out with this comedic storyline that she's giving you this stand-up event. She comes out, she talks to your fans. There's a very much 40s pinup aesthetic with 70s lighting and things like that. And she's tying in all these different aspects that her fans loved. On the other hand, after the first show, the tour's over, all these older women, generation mom type figures start going online and start, in the best sense of the words, twiddling their thumbs.
So they keep on twiddling them thumbs.
But they start twiddling their thumbs on social media, and they start picking apart and demonizing, almost in a sense, the aspects that Sabrina brought into her tour. Specifically, how short her clothes were, the sexual tones of her lyrics and her songs, which had been out for a period of time before the tour. So it's not like this was all new. We'd seen the photo shoots, we'd seen the aesthetic, we've seen at Coachella. She was wearing similar outfits to what she wore on tour, with the rhinestones and the sparkles and the short and the platform boots, and the way that she leaned into the sexual tones of what her generation, my generation, kind of talks about. That's kind of a topic that we talk about a lot and isn't really shamed, and we aren't shunned, we don't turn away from it. So to us, it felt like a very natural course of the tour. It felt like something that we could all relate to, something that I would be talking with my friends on the side and we'd have a conversation, and then Sabrina's having it with us on stage is kind of the relationship that the fans had. While the parents on the other end, how I referenced earlier, they almost demonized what she was doing. They said that she was being too sexual on stage, the poses that she was doing and the outfits that she was wearing and the phrasing and the words and the way she interacted with her dancers was inappropriate. That kind of draws into the question, inappropriate for who? Because if you're kind of looking at her demographic, it is people like me. It's younger women in their 20s and their late teens listening to this music and being able to relate to it, because we've grown up with her. Whenever I was watching Disney Channel, I saw her guest star on shows like Austin and Ally and Jessie, and I saw her first feature role on Girl Meets World as Maya, where Disney kind of started looking into her musical aspect and bringing in different albums and songs that she was releasing that I'd be watching the show, and then in a commercial space, I'd see Thumbs, or I'd seen Can't Blame a Girl for Trying. I'd see some of her different songs play out in those commercial spaces. So I've always been kind of taking in her content and listening to her music and doing things like that. So if you take, for instance, someone like me, who's been listening to her since Disney, and I've grown up with her as time has gone, that seemed natural for me. But the moms kind of got it in their head that it was wrong, that the things that she's experiencing and talking about shouldn't be mainstream, shouldn't be talked about to the general public, which caused a lot of discourse, because especially nowadays, sex is it's a buzzword. You see sex and you kind of go either way. You go very outgoing and you share, and it's a very kind of normal thing to talk about now, or you have the other side where it's a very hush hush, quiet, keep it in the corner conversation. And I feel like with Sabrina going on tour Short and Sweet, the idea of sex was very normal. It was very common. She had different parts of her show, like Juno, where she'd say the phrase, "Have you ever tried this one?" And then she would do a different sexual position every night. Have you ever tried this one? And that was something the fans looked forward to. They were excited to. There was an app that you could track it on and see what she was going to do for your show. Or Bedcam, the way that she closed out her show, a sheer curtain would go in front and then she'd enact a sort of sexual something with some of her backup dancers. And again, it was something that people looked forward to and they got excited and they thought it was fun and the fans engaged with that. You have the fan base enjoying that while you have our older generation, our moms, our grandmothers, our aunts, not liking that, not agreeing with that. And it kind of calls into the question, why? Because for as long as I can remember, a young artist in their 20s have always been in more of a sexual space. You have people like Usher, Justin Timberlake, Justin Bieber, all kind of grew up younger and people got to learn their music. And then when they hit their 20s and younger 30s, it was a completely different thing. Usher's always been known for his kind of sexual dance and sexual moves and things that he does on stage, while Justin Bieber was praised whenever he started kind of acting as an adult and kind of bringing that presence onto stage and the way he acted and the way he danced and just the stuff that he did. And it makes you wonder, why Sabrina and not them? You could say, oh, it's the generation that you grew up, it's everything like this. But I would argue it should be the opposite if it is a time of generation. If it was somebody like my parents, I would think that they'd be more concerned watching Justin Timberlake and Usher grow up. That would be more controversial, more conservative thing that they'd be wanting, while people like me are more okay with Sabrina Carpenter. So it's not necessarily a generational thing that you kind of have issues with. And it makes you look at it in the lens of like feminism and things like that, because we're here promoting women and encouraging this and wanting Sabrina to be outgoing and want her to do things through her costuming and lyrics. But why is it not okay when she does it and when the guys do it? You could say, oh, Sabrina grew up on Disney. That's a whole thing. That was the same thing with Justin Bieber. We saw him grow up when he was younger, literally a child on the streets, and got picked up, blew up on social media, performed around the world as a child. We saw him grow from a child into adolescence and become a man, and we got to see that performance and act on stage, and he was never demonized for it. He was never looked at as, oh, you're being overly sexual, you're reaching outside of your fan base, your viewers aren't gonna like that kind of thing. That was never an issue for him, while it kind of is for Sabrina. Whenever you look at Sabrina, obviously her aesthetic has changed and everything like that, but the aspect of her growing up on Disney never really had an issue. It's more the fact that older women are seeing it as an issue that she's being sexual on stage, which is just a crazy thing. And quite honestly, it happens a lot with female performers in that space. You can take people like Demi Lovato, Miley Cyrus, Taylor Swift, Beyonce, all these performers who are at the top of their craft can do whatever they want, release whatever music they do, but the minute they step on stage, they're gonna get criticized for the way they look and the way that they're acting. Beyonce, there's never been a time where I haven't seen discourse online whether Beyonce, because she's top heavy, she's showing too much cleavage, or she's not being a mother figure for her child having Blue Ivy on stage. And I feel like if I saw a guy performer bring their daughter or their son on stage, they'd be praised. Like if I saw Luke Bryan bring one of his childs on a stage, it would be praised for him bringing them into that space and sharing it with them and creating memories. So why is it any different than when Beyonce brings Blue Ivy or with Taylor Swift? Even in her 1989 era, when she was at the peak of her eating disorder, she was always seen in a sexual tone. That the phrase taking home a bag of bones was always used with her because she was so skinny because of her eating disorder. It was always in relation to her being flat-chested or her not having a big butt. And it makes you think, why are the only aspects that people care about with women performers their sexuality and how they visually look and how they are for kind of the general public? And you kind of start seeing the issues with that. And it kind of just makes you think about, what is the difference between a male performer and a woman performer, and why do we look at them differently? And the root of the problem is just that it is a gender issue. People still look at, to this day, the different lines and just the different things that you can cross as a male or a female. And it becomes an issue. You see it in the workplace, you see it just walking down the street. But the fact that it's still at this, people are at the top of their level, peak of their craft, international, and they're still held to a different standard is just a crazy thing to see in this time of day. And people are actively fighting against it. You have people like my generation love whenever we can engage with people like Sabrina and relate to the stuff that they're doing on stage and these different modern takes that they have for how they can show their craft. Oh, we enjoy that, we fight for that, we like that, we engage with that, but we still have people in the background saying, no, that's wrong, saying you can't dress like that, you can't sing to that, that's wrong. And it's just a constant reminder that you kind of have to look at it through a different lens. And that's something that I had to do at the beginning of the tour. I hadn't listened to her full album until about a month ago. Whenever videos about her tour were coming out, I listened to all the people saying like, oh, she's being too sexual, her lyrics are crazy, everything that she does on stage is too much. And I fully believe that because I never took the time to look into what she does on stage and what her lyrics are and what her songs are about. I never took the time to do that. So listening to social media and being on different platforms, it was easy for me to believe the things that everybody was saying without taking accountability for myself and looking into it. Now that I've listened to the music and I've gone back and I've seen all the videos and everything, I see it through a different lens. I see it through more relatability and being proud of your sexual self and being open and being comfortable with your own body. And it's something that's praiseworthy. And I think that she sets an example for what a lot of people aspire to be that are my age. We all want to be self-assured and be okay in our bodies and be okay with our sexuality. And I think the trail that she's blazing, while it's been a hard one, is one that's needed to be done. And I think the way that she's done it has been so amazing, the way that she's done it, because she's so proud about it and she's so open and she just doesn't care. She doesn't care what older people say and what people in the critics and people in the newspapers and everything. She does what she wants because that's how she is. And I think that's just such a special part about how performers can experience themselves nowadays and why it's important to kind of compare how women and female performers are, compared. So that's Erica's Corner.